evening. Good evening. Good evening. If everybody could sit down, and if we could just have one person speak, that'd be great. Good evening. 3 times. Need more chairs, Bill. Good evening. Can we start this meeting tonight? Thank you. My name is Kevin Irwin. I'm District 1 Commissioner. We have a member from both police and fire. We have a member from the Constitutional Office. We have a member from the local delegation. And that basically makes up our community. The objective really is to try to have one voice when we're advocating for any type of funding. Up in Tallahassee, there's opportunities, and through Tallahassee, through special session, working together, there's been over $3.7 billion have been allocated to Lee County for all different forms of assistance. We'll do the same type of thing in Washington, D.C. There's 26 different agencies that we'll actually go through, and our job is to try to continue to advocate for our community to help you recover. That's what that's about. The task force basically has 8 branches, and branches are very common in every natural disaster. They're made up of housing, infrastructure, economic recovery, building planning and capacity, workforce and education, social services, natural resources, and cultural resources. Basically, as you look at those parts, they are what makes up our community as one flows into the other, what we need to do for infrastructure, what we need to do for housing. Obviously, that flows into economic recovery, and those all obviously require permits and planning. With that in mind, right now, based on the latest update that we received, Hurricane Ian looks like the cost is right now projected to be $113 billion. We in Lee County have sustained almost a third of that. This potentially is the number 3 storm, most costly storm. Both Hurricane Harvey and Katrina are in front of it at $125 billion. So just to give you a framework, and we'll bring it down to regular levels, the objective in the task force and the branches is to reach out to you, the community, to understand what our needs are. And that's basically what we're trying to do. There'll be a series of meetings. We're going to write an action plan and a master plan that's due by December 5th. And we're going to address many things from resiliency. I can tell you that obviously the 3 things that we noticed from day 1 that everyone looks at is debris, electric, and water. Okay, so I think for the first time in history, we can indicate that debris was picked up in areas that was never picked up historically. We went to waterways and continued to do that. Went on private property and picked up construction debris and tried to do as best as we can. We could thank our members of our local delegation, our members up in Tallahassee for assisting us in that. Governor was great in making sure we did that, because without that, it would then have to come from you, the taxpayers. I can tell you that we received debris 100% reimbursement through December 7th. Thereafter, and that's any type of debris, whether it was vegetation or construction debris. Thereafter, what FEMA's rules are, it's 75% paid by the federal government and 25% paid by the state. And that 25% is supposed to be split between the county and the state, 12.5% apiece. Tallahassee or the state picked up our 12.5%, because I could assure you, no different than your city, we didn't have the resources to pay 12.5% of what it ended up being hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So we're grateful for the things that took place up in Tallahassee during special session. As far as electric is concerned, we definitely struggled with some of the smaller providers. I represent District 1. Prior to being in District 1, I was mayor of Sanibel for almost 12 years. So I know beach communities as well as anybody, and I can assure you I'm going to try to work with you as close as I can. But my district starts in Upper Captiva, through Captiva, Sanibel, Southwest Cape, Pine Island, and Boca Grande. It sustained about 65% of the total damage in Ian, and if I had your city, I'd probably have 95% of the damage. But we need to obviously work together as one. We want to try to identify as many things as we possibly can. We were given an award. I was with your mayor right here in Fort Myers Beach, and we were verbally told that we received $1.1 billion in a HUD grant. It's actually, you'll hear a lot of acronyms and letters to describe things. It's called the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. That's what it's for. And 70% of the money needs to be utilized for low to moderate income housing, and other monies can be used for infrastructure. In addition to that, we received another $350-odd million for hazard mitigation grant, the two of them that work hand in hand to allow us to continue to recover. This amount was actually awarded from the federal government to us for our unmet need. Our job, once we receive that award letter, and we have 120 days to put up an action plan. Tonight, we're going to look to you to tell us about the things that we need to do. We'll continue to work on the action plan in the next 120 days. I can assure you that they've indicated our unmet need is $1.1 billion. I think they're missing a zero. It probably should be more like $10 billion. That's going to be our job to advocate for you to make sure that Washington understands exactly what our needs are. And as we develop this plan, obviously we're all going to have things that we'd like to be included in this plan. I don't want anyone to be excluded. We're just going to have to work within the guidelines of the plan. And that's really what we're here to do tonight. I'm privileged to be here not only with people from both Collaboratory and Hagerty that actually are responsible for guiding us through the requirements from the HUD and obviously taking care of the necessary paperwork and consulting work, and Collaboratory is helping us with the facilitation of all these meetings. I also have one of the task force members that represents your city, Bill Veach, and I'm going to hand the mic over to him. I just want to give you a broad overview. Thank you.
So I'm Bill Veach. I'm the liaison for the town of Fort Myers Beach Town Council. There's the funding that's coming our way is very complicated. And just to give an overview of what's not really included in the block grant is that FEMA is the first one on the site. They're the ones who handle all the emergency stuff, the removal of debris, getting our roads cleared, getting emergency services in. The next is a hazard mitigation grant. That's for like lifting your house up, building a house up stronger. It's not intended to fix your house. It's intended to make your house stronger and all other infrastructure stronger for the next storm. This grant is for what they call unmet needs. So things that don't fit in any of those categories are from this grant. I just want to take a moment to introduce our representatives here. Mayor Dan Allers. Can you just stand up, Dan? And I see Vice Mayor Jim Matterholt in the back. Councilman Karen Woodson right up front here. And John King, Councilman John King, but he's got to be behind a post for me to miss him. Now, I want to just tell you that this is the intent of this meeting is both to let you know about what this grant, how it's going to work, but also to hear what you want to say. There will be a presentation and then there'll be some polls, and that's where you'll be able to register your thoughts about the questions at hand. Most of them are about the actual grant money, but this is your way to go through and express what you think the needs are, what the demands are from your perspective. I'll also tell you that there's not going to be a public comment period. It's a lot of people, not really enough time. Although all of you, if you have any comments after this that you don't feel were answered, just email council@fmbgov.com. It'll go to all of us counselors. We will answer you. We will try to research that. And also hats off to Commissioner Ruan. Like he said, he's a beach guy. He's an island guy. He gets us. He's lived in this environment. He knows the pros and cons of living on a beach. He knows about the traffic. He knows about the weather. He knows about tourism. He knows about all this. So it's good to have him as a chair because he understands what we're going through. He's also very keen on trying to use as many different funding sources as possible so we can stretch this $1.1 billion further, because it sounds like an enormous amount of money, but when you try to hit some of these very expensive projects like workforce housing and some resiliency things, it's going to go in a hurry. So I'm glad you're here. This turnout is another example of how the community in this island is so tight and so great, and how everyone cares so much. I'm really happy to see all the faces. They say where there's chaos, there's opportunity. We have a lot of chaos. So let's try to turn that into opportunity and try to rebuild stronger, more resilient, and move forward.
All right, good evening. My name is John Romine. I am part of the team at Collaboratory. We also have Terry, who will introduce himself in a little bit. And then the team from Haggerty is spread throughout the room tonight. We're going to share about 30 minutes of a presentation for informational purposes. There will be opportunities to participate digitally, so if you have your phone with you, fantastic. And then towards the end, we will have opportunities to participate in the posters you see hanging around the room. So thank you all for being here. I'm part of the Southwest Florida community, the Lee County community, and so I'm really grateful that you all took the time out of your evening tonight to be here to help inform and influence how we can build a more resilient Lee County. So we're going to do a little bit of an overview. So as Bill and Kevin both shared, a little bit about the task force. Tonight we're going to go a little bit more detail on that and then how the branches work, all of the different opportunities and ways that you can participate in the process. This isn't the only town hall. We have 17 of these. I think we said that tonight is 8 and 9. There's one going on at Heights Elementary right now, as well as here. We were on Pine Island last night. You can go to any of them. So please participate, share with your friends and folks that couldn't be here tonight. There are plenty of opportunities for folks to participate in these town halls. So we're going to use Slido. So if you haven't used Slido before, you can use your phone. I'm going to go to the next one. All you need to do is scan that QR code or go to slido.com. And there's a code there. It's 3250. 347 if you can't scan the QR code. Is the podium in the way, Patrick? Nope. And if you're streaming, you can also do this from your home or wherever you are. But it's slido.com, and then the code is 3250. Perfect. People are getting in. And so the first question is, what is the primary reason you're here? This is our test question to make sure that it works, because sometimes you know how technology can be. So curious, provide information on community recovery, the majority of you, which is why we hoped you would be here. Get immediate assistance. So for those that put in get immediate assistance, at the table where you signed in, we will touch on a couple of the programs that are available across the county in a little bit later. But at the table where you signed in, there are some documents, and I believe both English and Spanish, that you can pick up that talk about the immediate opportunities that are available. So 45, 46, so 50% of you are just curious to learn more, and 46 are here to provide input, which is fantastic. That's what we want to see. We'll give it a little bit more, and then we'll go to the next one, which I believe is a real question. Anybody have any issues getting in? Yeah, it's 325-0347. And once you're in once, all you have to do is pull your browser back up and you'll be able, it'll automatically populate the next question. So you don't have to scan the QR code every single time. All right, great. So this is the real question. So how did you hear about the Recovery Task Force town halls? This is really important for us to understand to make sure that we're reaching a broad cross-section of the community. It's important for our community engagement that's required for the HUD grant and for other funding opportunities that will be available. It is important that we have the voice of the community weighing in on how we get there. Beach Talk Radio, a neighbor, friends, email, the news. Thank you, Wink News, for being here. This is great. The chamber, internet. This is great. Bill Veach. Bill Veach. You're up there. Town council meeting. So it's important. We have the Beach Talk Radio is the one that is where most folks, so the majority of folks heard, or the largest number of folks heard, but it's spread out pretty broadly. So That's good. We're glad that we're getting the word out. And if you, after you attend tonight, please share with folks that you think might want to attend of how they could get to another one. All right. So how would you describe yourself? So the first question, is, well, it's going to automatically populate, so I'm not even going to be able to read them. So there's business owner, full-time resident, part-time resident, full-time resident of Lee County outside of the town, and then part-time resident of Lee County outside of the town's jurisdiction. So the majority of you are full-time residents of the town of Fort Myers Beach or Estero Island. This is great. So we are, as I shared, there's 17 of these. We are doing them in community to make sure, so the 6 cities all are having one, and then one for each city. And then we are having them throughout the county. There are also 2 virtual options, one in Spanish and one in English that anybody can sign up for. Great. All right, so a little bit more about the Recovery Task Force. So Commissioner Wayne went through all of this. Ultimately, we are driving towards what will be the Resilient Lee Plan, which will be finished by December 5th. And so this is the makeup of that Recovery Task Force. This is the membership of the elected bodies that make up Lee County different governments. And as we heard, there are 8 different branches. So 4 of them here, you have planning and capacity. So that's really looking at the bigger picture of the planning of Lee County as a whole. Economic recovery, obviously, as it relates to the recovery of our economy, whether it's tourism, construction, all of the different things that were impacted by Ian. Education and workforce, so what are the opportunities to maybe upskill or increase our educational opportunities and workforce training opportunities. Health and social services, which played such a critical role immediately after the storm. And then the other 4 are infrastructure, so think about transportation, our sewer system, our power grid, our water systems, things like that. Housing was a challenge before. Hurricane Ian only made it more challenging. Natural resources, which is our natural environment, and then the cultural resources, so the arts and culture and that make up our the quality of life of our community. The Recovery Task Force has 4 main objectives. The first is to survey those immediate short-term and long-term needs, identify and engage the key partners to address those needs of the community, develop some viable, feasible, desirable, and actionable solutions. So this is really where we need your input tonight. This will inform what those solutions are that not only help the town of Fort Myers Beach, but also really support the long-term resiliency of Lee County. And then most importantly, how do we maximize funding to support those ideas and those actions? This is the sort of urgent, high-speed timeline that we're on. So we're already in May, and so we're in this community engagement portion of the time frame, driving towards a December 5th Lee County Board of County Commissioners board meeting, where they will vote to adopt the Resilient Lee plan. So the purpose of the next question is the purpose of the town halls. And so what is your vision for the future of Fort Myers Beach? So a word, a phrase, and this will be like a word cloud. So what is your vision for the future of Fort Myers Beach? Mm-hmm. Nirvana. Home. Culture. Charm. Walkable. They're fantastic. Paradise and home are the 2 most visible and now walkable. Small town feel. Stronger community. Fun. Yeah, I love fun. Vacation, vibrant, these are great. So small town feel, family island, affordable, walkable, paradise, home, and really the character of what so many people come to Fort Myers Beach for is that small town charm, that small town beach feel. to maintain that, and that's what the future is. So we still have about 7 of you participating. Oh, and more. Quaint, quirky, love it. Rebuild the pier with shops. Get the vibe back. You guys are really good with Slido, I gotta say. Came ready. All right, we'll wait till these last few are get their thoughts in there. Yeah, we're at 97. Can we get 3 more to participate and get 100? 100? That'll be the record, no challenge. 98. 99. One more. Oh, there we go. Well, now they're just going overboard. Now they're over at 102 already. This is fantastic. Home and small town are still the two that really stand out. Paradise, eclectic, walkable, affordable, all very important as well. This is great. Don't want to cut anybody off. They're still going. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next. And so, as I shared, we've really tried hard to get the word out. The school district of Lee County has been absolutely fantastic partner. We've hosted many of the town halls within the schools, really to be able to have them in place and make it easy for people to get to. And so, the faith-based community has played a critical role at the neighborhood level. And so, again, if you have opportunities to share the remaining ones, May 8th through May 24th, with friends and family and other people in your community, please get the word out for folks to participate. So prior to the town hall, had you heard about the Resilient Lee Recovery Task Force? About 50-50. Well, I'm grateful that you're all here, as are the members of the task force. It's important that everybody knows what the task force is doing and how we're all working together to support the community to get to where we're trying to get to post this hurricane. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Terry. He's going to give a brief update on the status of recovery and then the ways that the community will continue to recover, and talk a little bit about the Community Development Block Grant, Disaster Recovery Grant that we've received from HUD. So Terry?
Thanks. Hey, with John, I'm also at Collaboratory. We're Lee County's community foundation. I've been here about 45 years and very honored to help in coordinating the recovery effort. And Haggerty Consulting has been a terrific set of partners. They've got the know-how and expertise for how government works, how we connect with the federal government to maximize resources coming here. So to begin with, another word cloud for the impact. Let's start with how you were impacted. That's the story that matters most. I think this word cloud says it all. you more than any other place bore the brunt of the impact. And all of these data are captured, and so they will be part of the story, being told part of our advocacy on your behalf for the funds that you need to rebuild and build back. Just unimaginable. So your individual experiences are part of then a collective experience that we all share. As Commissioner Ruane said, this is one of the largest storms to ever hit our country. And this number here of the 7.3 billion, that's just for residential and commercial structures. That's not the entirety of it, is that it's going to be 100 billion plus when all is said and done. So the scope of the inventory assessment of housing here, looking at 50,000 total homes, at least 5,000 completely destroyed, and many of them are right here, and those with major damage, another 30,000 with some other degree of damage. Not here to talk about the temporary housing and whether or not this was a good thing or bad thing, moved fast enough. We did have a call directly with SBA today, and our message to them was, they said, well, we're having meetings, we're listening. They said, well, we have one thing, we need to get checks in people's hands. That's the only measure that matters, is checks in people's hands. And for many of you who are business owners, you haven't seen those checks. But that's what we shared and try to say, during the pandemic, there was a way to get money into people's hands quickly. Put those systems back into place. So, the amount of numbers are staggering as far as the dollars that have been approved. We also made that point with the SBA that, they claim approval is it, but no, has the check made it to somebody? And I think Commissioner Ruane is our #1 advocate on that behalf. I have heard him many, many times in Tallahassee with Washington saying, no, show me the money is basically the message. So another poll here then. We know that one of the issues as the island builds back is there will be some very tough choices to be made. This is a great opportunity to provide your counselors with some initial input. Interesting first one there. Should the town council allow for additional density? All right, this will be a very important matter of public deliberation here. Okay. Okay, thank you, Noah. Okay, we got 90 here. Since that, if there's an explanation of the public benefit, there's an understanding of it. That's very helpful. Appreciate that. Okay, so then when we look at how rebuilding, as you all know just from experience, that this is a long journey going forward. And the dollars will continue to flow. There are new grants that have been received in Panama City and Bay County 4 years after Hurricane Michael. And so to not think that we only get one bite of the apple here, but there's ongoing advocacy and demonstration of need for what this is. Federal dollars, state dollars, local dollars. A lot of this is documentation. One of the reasons that the process is so maddening is because our local officials have to wait for the federal officials to certify the damage. Our colleague Tanya Shannon, who's at the other town hall tonight, but from her hands-on experience with Panama City, talks about just to remove a stump requires that you document how big of a stump it is, what's its diameter, where is it situated in the community, are there any cultural, historical resources around it. There's a lot of documentation before that gets certified that yes, this stump should be removed, and FEMA or another agency will pay for the removal of that stump. And so that's why there's a lot of things, traffic lights and others that look broken and say, why can't our local government just fix it? But if they fix it without the authorization, then they are not able to get reimbursement, and it's dollars coming out of our pockets to fund those. Frustrating. I live right next to a little park on the Caloosahatchee, and there's a buckled sidewalk, and my mother's got a walker, and I get around, and it's her obstacle course. So I've convinced her that it's training for her to work on this, so she just can't push her walker around. She's buying it so far, but we're 7 months, 8 months after, and there's no end in sight for that. But eventually, when the inspectors get around and say, yes, that was caused by the storm, by the surge, that counts. Okay, so this gives you a sense of the timeline. So we're past that 0 to 3 months with the blue tarps and the debris removal, that massive thing that the deadline kept getting extended and extended. Commissioner Ruane talked about the hundreds of millions of dollars for that, some initial support for businesses and homeowners, then the emergency repairs. Now we're into more permanent repairs on the infrastructure, the electrical systems, the water systems, the sewer systems. We have places like Estero looking at the conversion from septic to sewer. Those types of challenges are underway here. But all of these, if the plans were not already in place and we're starting from square one with planning, that takes an extensive amount of time. So we are looking at that 3 to 5 year for these efforts to go. It'll seem like a long time when we're in it, but there will come a day where we'll start to really feel like we are back to that nirvana that you identified. So here want to get a sense of how can response and recovery of government agencies improve. We can't be naive that this might never happen again. So how could we be more resilient in our response and preparations? So your sense of generally helpful. We got a tug of war between being critical and not helpful. So for Bill Veach's sake, I'll cut off the polling when helpful is ahead here. In the yeah, it's helpful, Bill. Okay. It does look trending in that direction. Okay. And this, as you know, those you elect to lead, they really do want to hear this information. If it hasn't worked well, they want to know that. And then, sorry. Okay. So here then back to a word cloud about your thoughts about how to improve. Okay. Listen to the people. That's why we're here today. Find more ways to communicate actions. I hope that you're considering this one of those ways, that you're finding out information you didn't know before. Insurance, a global view. That's interesting. Whoever put that up, care to share what that global view means to you? All right, definitely, yeah, be honest with the 3 to 5 years. The permitting, every place we've been, it's about permitting. That's something that, Commissioner, I saw our county manager back here. Roger, are you? Oh. He left, oh, okay. Okay, oh, darn. Roger has definitely heard about the permitting and working very hard to do that, but no, it didn't get you introduced at the beginning here, but thank you for being here and your support for the Recovery Task Force and all of that. So must go faster, the beach, and Commissioner Ruane can talk about beach renourishment a lot and the dollars secured for that. Very important, his understanding of the realities of being a beach community. All right, nature. So 103 responses, and there is attention to that permitting. So then, we're also knowing that there are vital services, navigators to help to connect to jobs, to loans, to housing opportunities. So are you aware of these services, and do you know how to access them? Do you know how they've been offered? So you don't need them. It's even more encouraging. Okay. Yeah, if you're an individual that you do need that, you can either go to the council's website and make a request. You can go to info@resiliently.com, which is the overall website. We'll cover these at the end too. John will walk through ways so that we can help to get you connected to the resources that you need. Okay, so now as we move forward looking for ways to continue to recover, another word cloud, this relates to the types of public benefits that you want, which will help to guide the vision for your town and the rebuilding. So that is, what public benefit do you value most? And is it pedestrian overpasses, beach access, public spaces, water taxis? You name it. Here's your opportunity to say, what are your top priorities for building back? Schools. Great. Traffic management. Walking, which relates to your responses up front. The walkability of this community is very important. The gym, overpasses, traffic. Excellent. We're coming up on that magic 100 mark. A lot of people still typing in. Underground electric. Accessibilities, the gym, park, Times Square. Very good. Thank you. So I mentioned there's a level of types of resources from the state's Housing Initiatives Partnership to cover some of the insurance deductible costs, help to close that gap. United Way remains as a frontline provider of resources for that, and with the pods that they've distributed out. And then again, the resiliently.com is a way of identifying resources. We've talked a lot about the Community Development Block Grant and the announcement there. I'm going to give a little more detail for this, but it was covered very thoroughly by Commissioner Ruane. Generally, it's not just housing, but it's the infrastructure to support the housing. There is some economic development planning for how would you imagine a master plan for rebuilding Fort Myers Beach, the types of public services that are going to be needed to support this, and then mitigating where you're needing to harden. So the action plan is the requirement of the county. I'll go into a timeline for that. There are two plans that will be underway here. There's the direct action plan for the HUD 1.1 billion. And then there is the longer range recovery and resilience plan. And that's our general purpose here is for those. But because of the timing of the announcement, we put them together. The timeline that we're looking at, we can no longer assume that they're going to make the official Federal Register notice of the 1.1 billion. When that comes, it starts the clock for the 120 days. Within the first 60 days, the county needs to release a draft action plan for public comment, so you'll have another opportunity to weigh in on that point. And then at that point, the county will incorporate that feedback, and by the 120th day, then submit that action plan to HUD. At that point, HUD has 60 days to decide to approve that or to send it back and go back and forth for the type of feedback or what is allowable. One of the important parts of that plan passing muster with HUD is this level of public engagement. So you are a very important part of securing those resources for the county. The fact that you came out tonight means a lot for that. So the magic point is when the media shares that we have received official notice of that grant award. At that point, then start your clocks, and it's going to that 60 and 120 days. Then the dollars will not come, though, realistically, till 2024 when they'll start to hit the ground. Feels like a long time. We have emergent needs now. The state is helping to fill a lot of those gaps. The County Board of Commissioners is prioritizing with resources they have available. But there'll be a massive infusion, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make some fundamental investments in the resilience of our communities. So with that, let me turn it over to John to bring us home.
Thanks, Terry. All right, I shared a lot of this information earlier, but there are a variety of ways to stay involved. The best way is info@resiliently.com, where you can send an email, or just the website, which is resiliently.com. Share that. That also has all of the events, so the Recovery Task Force, they meet the fourth Friday of every single month. The branches meet every single month. Both meetings are public meetings. They have public comment at the end for both meetings. So there are 8 branches, so that's 8 meetings plus the Recovery Task Force meeting. That's 9 meetings a month that do have public comment options. So I think this is the last one. There might be another one. So full-time residents and business owners, both fantastic to the top. churches, nonprofits. There are so many ways that people can be engaged in this process. Architects, I think that the whole design industry plays a role. We've had several participate in are on the branches. So the branches are made up of community members, represent all different sectors within our community. Shrimp fleet, I missed that one. Homeowners. So great. These are really great. Thank you. All right. So this is a Fort Myers Beach specific. So what do you see as the most important? Preserving residential neighborhoods, protecting the environment, supporting local businesses, or encouraging commercial development, or others that you think are the most important as it relates to the long-term resilience of Lee County, specifically the town of Fort Myers Beach? Protecting the environment, preserving our residential neighborhoods, affordable housing, retaining our school, traffic. Traffic shows up again. Lots of around housing. This is great. All right, so this is where we get to stop talking and you all get to participate. So you all got stickers. You got 8 of them. The colors mean nothing, so don't feel like green means more than red or red means more than yellow. It's not the way it is. The colors mean nothing. It's what Staples had. But around the room, there are 8 stations representing the 8 branches. So the branches have their 3rd meeting next week since the beginning of the Recovery Task Force. They've identified some initial priority areas. So there's 2 over there, there's several on the back, and then there's the last 2 are over here. And so use your 8 stickers to vote on either one priority area per branch, or put all 8 on the priority that matters most to you. And then on the one next to the one with the initial priorities, there are Post-its. Please do not write on the posters. There are Post-its with pins at each station. The first question is, what priorities have we missed or have we not thought about at the branch level? And then the bottom is really thinking about